More than 700 years ago, a young boy from Venice went on a journey that changed the world. His name was Marco Polo. He would travel across deserts, mountains, and seas to reach the court of a great emperor. This is his story, the young explorer. Marco Polo was born in 1254 in Venice, Italy. At the time, Venice was a rich city full of traders and ships. Marco's family were merchants. His father, Niccolo Polo, and uncle, Mafio Polo, traveled far to buy and sell goods like silk and spices. When Marco was still a baby, his father and uncle left Venice and went east to Asia. They traveled across the land, following trade routes and crossing dangerous places. They met many different people and finally reached the land of the Mongols. There, they met a powerful man named Kublai Khan. He was the ruler of the Mongol Empire, the largest land empire the world had ever seen. Kublai Khan was curious about the West and wanted to know more. He asked the Polo brothers to return to Europe and bring back scholars and holy men. In 1269, after years of travel, Niccolo and Mafio returned to Venice. Marco was now 15 years old. He had never met his father before, but soon he would join him on the most amazing journey of his life. The journey begins. In 1271, Marco, now 17, set out with his father and uncle. They were going back to Asia to meet Kublai Khan again. This time, they were bringing gifts and letters from the Pope. The journey was long and hard. They traveled on foot, on horses, and on camels. They crossed the snowy mountains of Persia and the dry deserts of Central Asia. The Gobi Desert was one of the hardest parts. It was hot during the day, freezing at night, and had almost no water. They also had to face wild animals, bandits, and sickness. But Marco stayed strong and curious. He watched everything closely and learned from the people they met. He kept a mental record of the lands, the customs, and the food. The Polos followed the Silk Road, an old trade route that connected Europe and Asia. Along the way, they met Muslims, Buddhists, and many other cultures. Marco was amazed by the different ways people lived. After more than 3 years of travel, they finally reached the Mongol Empire. Kublai Khan was in his summer palace in Xanadu, in what is now northern China. At the court of Kublai Khan welcomed the Polos warmly. He was especially interested in young Marco. The emperor saw that Marco was smart, polite, and eager to learn, so he asked Marco to stay and serve in his court. Marco became a trusted envoy for the Khan. That means he traveled around the empire, delivering messages and learning about different regions. He visited many parts of China and even went to India and Southeast Asia. Marco saw many things that were new to Europeans. Cities larger and cleaner than any in Europe. Paved roads and stone bridges. Paper money used in daily trade. A fast postal system with horses and stations. Tea drinking and the use of coal for heat. He also saw strange animals like elephants and rhinoceroses. He even wrote about what he thought were unicorns, but they were probably just rhinos. Marco wore Mongol clothes and learned the language. He respected their customs and gained the trust of many officials. He served in the court for about 17 years. During this time, he saw battles, met leaders, and took part in government tasks. The return journey. After many years, the Polos wanted to go home, but Kublai Khan didn't want them to leave. Finally, he agreed on one condition. They had to escort a Mongol princess to Persia for her wedding. This time, they traveled by sea. It was a long and dangerous trip. They faced storms, shipwrecks, and disease. Many people on the ship died. After nearly 3 years of travel, they reached Venice in 1295. Marco was now 41 years old. He had been gone for 24 years. When he returned, people didn't recognize him. He wore strange clothes and spoke several languages. Even his own relatives were shocked. The book that changed the world. Not long after coming home, Venice went to war with Genoa. Marco fought in the war and was captured. He was sent to prison. In prison, he met a writer named Rustichello of Pisa. Marco began telling him the story of his journey. Rustichello wrote it all down. The book was called The Travels of Marco Polo. It told of huge cities, gold palaces, black stones that burned like wood, coal, and even strange creatures. People in Europe had never heard such stories before. Some believed Marco, others thought he made it all up. But the book spread across Europe and was copied in many languages. Marco was released from prison and returned to Venice. He lived a quiet life, got married, and had 3 daughters. But he never traveled again. The legacy of Marco Polo. Marco Polo died in 1324 at the age of 70. On his deathbed, people asked him if his stories were true. He said, "I did not tell half of what I saw." His book inspired many others to explore. One of them was Christopher Columbus, who carried a copy on his journey across the Atlantic. Marco Polo helped Europeans learn about Asia. He showed that there was a world beyond their borders. He helped connect East and West through trade, stories, and curiosity. He didn't just bring back treasures. He brought back knowledge. Marco Polo left home as a teenage boy and returned as a man who had seen the wonders of the world. His journey proved something important. If you are brave and curious, the world opens up to you. And that is the story of Marco Polo, the boy who walked to the ends of the earth.